you're doing. You know,
Right.
sometimes we just get lost in the mix of doing things, of doing what you're doing, grinding, hustling, and working. And then when somebody actually pats you on the back or on the shoulder, it feels very good. It's like being given your flowers, like literal flowers. Standard Bank actually sent me a big bouquet of flowers.
Really?
And so for me, that was really like a humbling moment. I
Right.
think it just is that thing that is really like a highlight in my career and in my achievements.
Right.
And I really do feel it has placed me in a position where I can influence other women, other young women and girls that are actually sitting there thinking, I could not amount to anything. And I say this boldly because I come from nothing. I'm not a child of privilege. So I literally had to do everything and put in the work to actually get to where I am, to be recognized for all of these achievements. And yeah, for me, that is really something that is great. And I feel very humbled. And I feel like there's a lot of work for me to do to actually, you know, prove to other women that we can do more as women.
You are such an inspiration, trust me. And I'm feeling and I'm seeing the passion in your eyes, you know, as you're sharing that beautiful story, you know. Mrs. M, I'm going to call you Mrs. M because a lot of people know you as Mrs. M. A lot of people will look at baking, which is what you did. You left your financing world and followed your passion, which is baking and cooking. Yeah. And others just really leave it at that level as a hobby. But you have managed to not only just look at it as a hobby, but you grow it into a big, successful business venture. What sparked that passion, you know, in you? That thing that just really hit home and be like, you know what? This is it, you know, this is my passion. This is where I glow. This is where I grow, and I want to do this, and I don't want to do anything else. So what sparked that that motivation? And to that young woman sitting at home, what would be your word of advice to her to have and to recognize that passion within her?
Yeah. I think the word passion, I think we kind of loosely use it as if you wake up one morning and say, oh, this is my passion. But mostly it's trying to identify what things you love. You know, the things that you do freely and do not expect to be paid for, that is probably where your passion lies.
Right.
If you just think about whatever it is, okay, some people thrive in taking naps, but I mean, I don't know if that could be a passion, but
Not me.
So I think for me it was really just identifying that, and you know, when you just do a pros and cons of what am I enjoying the most about the work that I do, and for me I think food, baking kind of weighed more at that point. And honestly speaking, it was such a risky move that I actually made. I literally took the jump. But, and I know, I mean, I put everybody else on, you know, panic mode to actually say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What do you mean you're leaving finance?
Yes.
This is what you went to school for.
You know, and a confirmed income, you know.
A confirmed income.
Yeah.
You're walking into this world. Business is tricky. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But for me, it was more about how it made me feel on the inside.
Right.
And I do this even when the coins are not coining. I do this, you know, I could even go for days without sleeping, but when I'm doing what I love doing, and for me, that was kind of like a deciding factor for me to actually say, no, I'm going to do this. And of course, having a great support system, I cannot overemphasize that. My husband has really been an amazing supporter of what I do on a daily basis, and my business has gone through ups, downs, and, you know, but, you know, having that great support system for me, it really just kept me on my toes. And, you know, my clients, the people that are rooting for me, you know, hearing those things, being honored, being acknowledged, being seen, being heard, for me actually goes long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes a long way.
Look, you have been seen, you have been heard, trust me. That is why you're sitting on that chair. And I'm just getting strong woman vibes, you know, just by clearly just sitting here and listening to you talk. And I know that you're a leader, you know, in what you do, you know, in baking and the confectionery industry. But what drives you, you know, to constantly just push every day, to wake up and push?
Yeah. It really just goes back to the passion, doing this for free, doing this so easily. For me, it comes so easily. And I think it's also just wanting to be somebody. You know, when you grow up a nobody, you come from, no, there's no privilege, there's nothing to actually say that you come from. So for me, I think from childhood, I've always just wanted to be a somebody.
Right.
For me, I think one of my greatest fears is oblivion, you know, just living a life with no purpose and walking through this earth and being forgotten, not having made an impact. So for me, I think it's one of the things that constantly ring at the back of my head to actually say, I want to become somebody.
Nice.
I want to do something and just turn something so basic into something very tangible,
Yeah.
you know. And I mean, baking is such a humble hobby. You know, our mothers, our grandmothers have been doing this for years, and I come from a family, my mother used to bake. My
And that
sisters,
beautiful aroma, you know,
yeah,
coming
I
out
mean,
of the kitchen, and the house, you know, feels warm. You know,
Definitely.
because something is baking in the oven.
it's honestly just, it feels like home, you know. So for me, the funny thing is that I hated cooking. I hated anything and everything to do with the kitchen.
Right.
My sisters, my family will attest to this. I was a cereal bowl licker. You call me when it's time to wash the dishes, but only just to lick the bowl and run away strictly after that. So for me, it is such an interesting turn of events to actually say, okay, not you turning this into a business, you literally hated the kitchen, like all of your life. So I think for me, it's really been something very moving, that paradigm shifts, you know, and a total like 360 for me to actually say, oh no, I'm about to turn this into something to talk about.
Nice one, Mrs. M, the cereal bowl liquor. You heard it here, folks. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to hear more from Mrs. M.
Vibes from Hoops. Studio One is back on your screens with brand new episodes. Brand new episodes. Catch your favorite local artists, live performances, your movers and shakers, the hustlers, doing the work. Entertainment news, local and international, nothing but fresh vibes every Saturday at 6 p.m. Let's go. What are you doing on a Saturday evening? We got nothing but the best. Vibes from Hoops.
I'm a very, 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 very happy customer.
I know. Ngikimbele.
Imali yebhizinisi ayivika wayidla ujabulala phansi.
Hayi ngimsebenzi yethu lesindako la ekhaya njengoba niyibona lilihle nakangaka.
Ngiyakolosha, which is crocheting.
Ngiyakhicita ke noko kakhulu emsebenzini wethu ikhumba.
Ngenda kwegaba emacici nokwegaba entsanyeni.
Ngilungisa emagedlela. Hello, how are you? We are selling peanuts at 5. Thank you so much. Umdala kubusile. On the strat, baby.
You're watching ACuppa with Nomcebo, and we are celebrating International Women's Month, courtesy of Standard Bank Eswatini, who have turned our gracious studio blue. And I'm having a wonderful conversation with Mrs. M, the cereal bowl liquor. That's what I'm going to call her moving forward. You are in this industry, you know, where you've turned your passion into profits, and your business, I can clearly say, is an empire today, because everybody knows who Mrs. M is. You're all over social media. Everyone talks about you. You know, just that brand, you know, that's really out there and doing very well. But I'm sure there are a couple of challenges, you know, along the way, you know, into building, you know, your business venture, in building your brand. So can you just kindly share some of those challenges and how you overcame them?
Wow. I think the first challenge is actually just cementing your name in, you know, whatever you're doing. And I think for me, getting into the business world was probably not something I had at the back of my head when I got into it. It was just one of those things. It's like I just slipped into it. And, you know, when you go into any industry, you're going to find players that are already there. And it's so easy to drown. It's so easy to drown. And I think for me, in as much as that was a challenge to actually say, what do you mean you're going to come as a baker? Like, we've had bakers for years. We've had people who deal in food for years. But what is your edge? So, and for me, it was just bringing that edge. And I thought probably that is something that will set me apart by what I'm offering, really. What you're bringing to the table should be different, should be unique, and I identify your niche and what edge are you giving people.
Yeah.
And in as much as it took so many years, and it's only now that so many things are starting to make sense. I must say, it may seem like, yes, it's a big empire, but I do believe I'm still in the process of becoming the best version of myself, the best version of the business.
Right.
So I think it's still the building blocks. I do feel like I'm barely scratching the surface. That is also just a challenge on my side, to actually feel like I still have so much more to do. And challenges, obviously, they relate to, you know, finding yourself where you actually look at the business and feel like, yes, this is profit, I've arrived. And I think for me, in as much as it's a challenge, it's not something that deters me to actually say it's time to quit, because I think we easily feel, when the coins are not coining and when, you know, the money is not coming in, it's so easy to actually say, no, this is not worth it. But, you know, the business people that I follow, that I aspire to be like, are so proud to actually say, I spent 10 years just breaking even or barely making anything.
Wow.
But it was just about building a name, building trust, and, you know, building the alliances along the way to actually say, once you get there, then it'll all make sense. So for me,
but you've successfully, you know, achieved. And recently, you have really, you know, put yourself out there. You know, you're out there now, you know, in the spotlight, you know, as the founder and a business owner for Mrs. M, Decadent Pleasures. So that is a brand on its own. As well as yourself, you know, Mrs. M, you know, you are a brand. So looking at your personal brand and your Decadent Pleasures, how do these two complement one another?
I think it really stems from a creativity perspective. I feel personally I've always been someone who has been creative, whether in anything really I do. I feel like I've always wanted to do something and everything in a different way. And it comes from a creativity point of view to actually say there's so many people that work in food, that bake, but my edge really comes from the creativity side of things, to actually say that is where I hit hard and that is where I make most of my impact, to actually say that is basically where it is. And I think being Neliswa, knowing that I'm Neliswa first before I can be anything else, also just comes out because my character is brought in and can be seen in the work that I do. And to actually say that now that I'm working with food as well, as a whole, not only just the baking side or the Decadent
Pleasures. So you're finally
Pleasures.
cooking.
Yes. So,
Thank God.
yeah.
Okay.
Getting into that space as well
Right.
has
Are you
just...
enjoying it?
I'm loving it. It's
Nice.
actually a place where I'm able to spread my wings and do me, be very authentic with myself. and I dare myself when it comes to cooking. I feel like cooking was my first love, but the baking and confectionery side is what turned into a business first.
Yeah.
And right now, it's me rediscovering myself and really just hitting hard at everything that I want to do. But the creativity is where everything just kind of connects. That Neliswa shows.
Yeah, the creativity. Let's talk about the creativity, because your bakes are so creative. How did you even get there? You know, what was the inspiration? Because they're very unique, I must say. And you know, sometimes I remember the first time I actually, you know, encountered your bakes. You know, I was shocked, and at some point I thought maybe this was, you know, decoration or something, garnish, and I was like asking myself, do we eat this? or it's a decoration.
Yeah.
Very creative, very creative. Where does that come from?
I'm gonna say I got it from my mama.
Okay.
I think the first person that I met that was so creative and so elaborate was my mother, and I think she got it from
Her
my
mama.
grandmother. Yeah, she got it from yeah. So she was very elaborate. She loved things. She liked nice things, and I think it strongly comes from that. I grew up also wanting to be elaborate, wanting to do everything a little bit more, a little bit extra, add a little bit of something, and I think it really shows and it spills over to things that I do, the business side of things. When I'm doing just general like food, I could be making oats, you know, for
Yeah.
crying out loud, but there's always that something that says no, not just like this, like add something, an edible flour, add sesame seeds. I want it to be elaborate. I want that
Yeah,
thing.
You're an artist.
Yes.
Spoken like a true artist, you know, because that is what we actually see. You know, when it comes to your bakes, you know, you're just captivated, you know, by the look, you know, of your products before you actually eat them, which is, trust me, it's out of this world. I really
Wow.
love your bakes. But let's just talk about this other aspect, you know, because here you are. You have this natural talent, you know, for baking and cooking, and you had a full-time job, and then you quit that. So, did you, by any chance, probably went to confectionery school to get more skills?
Not at the moment, but it is definitely something that I want to pursue, like just going forward. I think, you know, when you start doing something like this, it's like, I'm just going to do it and see where it goes. And you hardly just anticipate how much fly it's going to catch. And I'm at a point where I do realize that upskilling is very important.
Right.
It also plays a big role in just cementing yourself in the space that you operate in. And it's like, yes, creativity is well and good, and it has pushed you up to this far, but it would be great to actually upskill so that it just, I don't know, it just cements you, I think, in a very strong way. And I'm getting into a space where other people, and I'm inviting other people to actually come into my space to actually feed off of what I've done and to learn something. I've been doing some master classes around baking and cooking, and I've had great audiences in terms of that, people coming through to actually learn something. And I'm just at a point where I'm like, I cannot hold on to this like forever.
Yeah, to
I
share.
need to share with
Yes.
people. I need to open up to people to actually say it's really not rocket science. It's all about putting your heart into it. It's all about just doing the math and just getting right into it. So I think, yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break. This is very, very interesting, and we're going to keep it light when we come back as we continue having this conversation with Mrs. M. We are celebrating International Women's Month, and courtesy of Standard Bank, we are able to have wonderful, strong, professional Swati women sitting on the couch, sharing their wonderful stories on how they made it in their different professions and sectors. And today I have Mrs. M. This is a woman that bakes the world, bakes about just about anything, and she's also into cooking. And there's a lot of young people watching you right now, Nelisa, and and they're like, I want to be like her. I want to be like her. What would be your words of advice to that young person sitting at home that would love to be an entrepreneur just like yourself?
I would say just do it, and just start wherever you are with whatever you have right now. I can't imagine how far I would be if I started this much sooner, much earlier in my life. And I think it's just about believing yourself. It starts really from there to actually say, I can do it. Convince yourself, convince your brain that I can do this, and I will do it. And really just being intentional about what you set yourself out to do. I mean, it's really easy to actually say, no, I'm only going to do this when I have this. I'm only going to start baking when I have a thermofan oven. I'm going to start doing this when I have 3 pans. I started baking with a convenient oven. You know this small oven where you literally bake a layer, take it out, wait for it to cool with 1 pan and a convection oven. So you can just imagine how difficult it was, but I was set out to do it. I would be up all night knowing very well I have work the whole day. So I wasn't sleeping for quite a while because I was so determined to actually say, you know what, I'm going to do this. And if you're a young person wanting to do something, literally just go for it. Do it and just believe in yourself, especially the girl child. Especially the girl child. You know, I think women, we look down upon ourselves. We do not have that, I don't know, the esteem, or I'm going to say the confidence to actually say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be intentional about it. We want to seek approval a lot from either the men in our lives, or we just want approval from everyone else. We want people to sing praises to us. I did this, no one was singing anything to me. I was doing it when everyone was ignoring what I was doing, you know. So for me to actually sit here and to say I can inspire someone, for me that is big. For me that is an achievement on its own, to actually say, oh, I could say something and someone else wants to listen. So it's actually that for me. And sometimes the fire doesn't really catch on really quick, and it's still okay. It's still okay to just keep pushing.
Yeah, take us back to the first bake that you made, and that first client, you know, experience. Just take us back to that moment. What was that like?
That was so amazing. I think the first client I got was from a vanilla pound cake that I actually had baked. What had happened was I baked the cake, took photos, and I posted on social media. You know, just posting with the hashtag Mrs. M's Kitchen. I was really just having fun with it. I was not trying to advertise or anything. It's just one of those things where it's like, I'm doing something fun, I'm going to take a picture, I'm going to post. And then I started getting, you know, questions, oh, how much would this cost? And I'm like, what? I just bake for fun, I do it for my family. And then they were like, yeah, okay, but I'm willing to pay. And then that's how it really started. And I'm like, oh, okay, someone is paying. And then after that, someone else started ordering again and again. And then that's how it just caught fire. So I'm going to say that I wasn't ready for it. You know, when it's just like I'm doing this for me and my family. It's like just making a lemonade, and then it turns out into something bigger than that. So it was really nerve-wracking to actually say, oh, someone else is going to taste what I have done. It was so nerve-wracking, because sometimes as family, we try to boost each other's confidence by actually praising, even when we shouldn't be. So I think for me, I started questioning so many things to actually say, I wonder if my family has been very honest with me about this, because now I need to make someone pay for this thing. So it was so nerve-wracking in that sense, but it was such a great moment for me, you know, getting the review back. And I mean, I've grown so much from that, and I've learned so much, you know, after messing up so many orders, after not being great at every step of the way. It really just helps you to grow.
You know, it's really been great. I've been sitting here listening to you. You are such an inspiration. Mrs. M, and I'm going to bother you. So don't worry about that. I'm going to bother you. You're such a lovely person. And you're such an inspiration to young people, you know, whether you're a girl child or a boy child, there's something that you can take out of this conversation. And before I let you go, Mrs. M, I'd like to gift you this beautiful candle, courtesy of our friends from Eswatini Candles, who make these candles at Zuluini. You are an inspiration and a light into people's lives. So I'd like to give you this candle.
Thank you so much.
As a token of our appreciation from ACuppa with Nomcebo.
Thank you
So much for joining us on the show, and I do hope that you took something home, and I do hope that your life is going to change for the better. And once again, thank you, Standard Bank, for sponsoring the show. Good night, Eswatini.